I mean, I can't give you a specific prediction for a specific time because what I expect is Bitcoin will go up forever with volatility, right? It's not going to go perfect straight line. It's going to surge forward, consolidate, surge forward, consolidate. But, as I've said, the way I look at it is I think it flips gold and then it replaces real estate. And eventually there's no reason why it can't become a multi-$100 trillion asset. So I expect it'll go up by a factor of 100 to 200 or more. And I think it's just going to progressively advance this decade. And at some point, logically, every year the volatility decreases. Maybe the growth rate comes back a bit. You go from 300% to 200% to 150% to 100% to 75% to 60% to 40%. The volatility will come in as the networks get more mature and the exchanges get more mature and the crypto assets get more mature and institutional investors come in. So it's just all natural, mature seasoning for a good reason. And the use case, Bitcoin's going to appreciate in value because of A, inflation, B, adoption, C, utility, and D, productivity. And by that I mean, in your frame of reference, right? If you're in Argentina and the inflation rate's 80%, Bitcoin's going up in pesos at more than 80% a year just because of that, right? So hyperinflation will hyper drive the price. Low inflation drives price lower. So it goes up because of that frame of reference and inflation. But if it gets built into every iPhone and Android phone and 8 billion people can move at the speed of light 100 times a day, and if it gets built into Twitter and Facebook and Square and YouTube and Tinder and WhatsApp and Telegram, right? The utility goes up, the price is going up, right? And if 100 billionaires all buy $1 billion each, okay, forget about the other two things. It's still going up, right? I mean, adoption, right? When Apple decides to buy $50 billion of Bitcoin, it's going up regardless of technology or inflation. It's just going up. And now when everybody's got it, when 8 billion people on the planet have half of their money invested in this asset, well, then classic Austrian economics theory says it'll go up with the productivity growth of the economy, right? Like if the human race generates 3% more goods and services every year, the value of the money will go up by at least 3%, right? So it's an appreciating asset that will be progressively less volatile, progressively slower growth, but it'll be high growth an entire decade. Right? Ask me at the end of 2030, what's my forecast? But we're looking at an exciting decade, and you just got to strap in and be ready for the volatility. If you don't have a 4-year time horizon, you probably shouldn't buy it. And I think, you should be thinking, I'm buying this to hold, minimally a decade, but like, why would you just hold it forever? Give it to your grandkids. Like, the only reason people have to sell anything is the asset's too expensive to maintain, like a boat, costs you 10% of your purchase price. It's too expensive. Or they flee the country and they can't take it with them. Or someone impaired the asset. Like I bought a company and the CEO went crazy and he screwed it up. It's destroyed. But if what you're buying is 1 unit of energy, 1/21 millionth of energy on a network with no CEO, and no jurisdiction, well, then why would that ever be impaired, right? As long as people need sound money and they need Bitcoin, 500 years from now, it should still be 1/21 millionth of all the energy on the network. So why would you ever sell it? You got to buy something better, right? You're going to sell it if you don't have a bank. If you don't have a good banker and you can't borrow against it, you'll have to sell it. And you'll sell it if you thought there was something better. But if you don't, and even if you found something better, arguably a smart person, like if you had 10 city blocks in New York City worth $25 billion and you believed in Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin is better, But you might just take a loan against the 25 city blocks of New York City and keep New York City and keep Bitcoin, right? So you may still never sell it, even when you buy something better. If you want to get rich and stay rich, you kind of have to own high quality property forever. The royal family in England, they own Chelsea, right? They own London. They still own it hundreds of years later. They're not selling it ever, right? Just keep it.